how to make a delicious corned beef brisket in the crock pot or slow cooker. It is definitely going to have those delicious vegetables that go with that corned beef, the cabbage, carrots, potatoes, and onions. First, I'm going to show you our corned beef brisket because I'm going to go ahead and put that in the crock pot. This is a 4-pounder. It's a flat cut, and also this variety comes with its own seasoning packet. And it's right in here, and I'll show you that. Now with the brisket, you have a choice whether you could either rinse it off. It is brined in a salty water mixture, so if you want to take off some of that salt, you can do that. I'm not going to do that because there's some, it's just flavor in there. So I'm just going to take the meat out and I'm going to place it into the crock pot. Now the corned beef brisket is a tough cut of beef that we're going to make very tender by slow cooking it. All right, going to get that little seasoning pack out. Turn the meat over. There we go. Now this is called the vinegar spice packet. Now generally it has mustard seed, coriander seed, allspice, bay leaf, and cloves. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle my corned beef brisket with the seasoning packet. That's all the seasoning you need. Here are the vegetables that I'm going to be preparing to put into my crock pot. A head of cabbage, 1 large onion, 2 batches of carrots, and then I have some yellow Yukon potatoes with some little baby ones, and then I have some red baby potatoes. I'm going to leave these whole. I'm just going to scrub these and get these clean and add all of these. These potatoes I'm going to go ahead and add to the corned beef brisket in the crock pot to cook alongside of it. Now with the carrots, I'm going to leave them whole. I've already peeled them. I'm going to cut off the ends, because these are such pretty carrots, long and thin. And I'm just going to let them stew in with the brisket and the potatoes all at the same time. Now if you want to cut them very small, you can add them later if you want. Just make sure they're nice and tender when you cook them. Let's go ahead and add these to the crock pot. I have a very large onion. I'm just going to take the ends off the outer layer. And then I'm just going to cut it into 8 pieces. I want to leave it pretty chunky because it's going to be in the crock pot all day. All right, let's go ahead and add this to the crock pot. We're going to add 4 cups of beef broth. Okay, now I still have my cabbage here. I'm just going to be slicing that up into quarters. We're going to put that in there later, about halfway when this is through cooking. I'm going to add the cabbage. So if you're cooking it on low for about 10 hours, now you can go below 10 hours or a little bit high. What you want to do is check your brisket and make sure that it is nice and fork tender and all the way cooked through and your vegetables are nice and soft. Or you can cook it on high for about 4 to 5 hours, maybe up to 6. Just again, check your brisket and see how tender it is. Cooking it on high will not make it a rough piece of meat, okay? So just give it plenty of time when you're cooking it on high. Okay, so I'm going to be back. I'm just going to run through showing the cabbage going into there about halfway through the cooking time. Then I want to show you what it looks like at the end. So y'all come on back. Now I've cleaned off the leaves off my cabbage and cleaned it off really good. So what I'm going to do is cut this into small wedges. That's pretty good right there. What I'm going to do is use the rest of the cabbage for coleslaw. So let's go ahead and add this to our crock pot. We still have a few more hours left until the corned beef brisket is cooked through. So we're going to go ahead and start softening this up on top of that. It's looking really good. Smells delicious. So the carrots are still in their shape. They got a couple more hours. The potatoes and the onions, and these are all still going to soften down. So I'm going to go ahead and add the cabbage. And put one right on top. Put some of the juice on top of the cabbage. Give it some flavor. We're going to cook this until the brisket is totally cooked through and nice and tender, and the vegetables are all cooked through and tender also. Okay, here's my corned beef brisket with all those delicious vegetables. Today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious, hearty beef Irish stew, Guinness style. If you know, you know. If you don't, you'll know here in just a little bit. To get started, we are going to go ahead and prepare our beef. Now, with an Irish stew, you can use lamb, you can use mutton, but I don't tend to use those ingredients. We're going to be doing the beef, which means you can take a chuck roast or any roast. You can chop it up into tiny pieces, or you can just get it prepackaged, and it comes like this here. And then you can just chop it down into bite-sized pieces, which I'm going to do right now. We're going to flavor it up, and then we're going to start our stew. It's going to happen all in one big Dutch oven. I've got about 2 pounds. You can go up to 3 pounds with this recipe. Just going to pop it out of there. See if I need to cut anything down into smaller pieces. This looks good right here. It'll render down. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. This is a perfect stew for that, or just any time. Winter's almost, done and spring is coming, so let's finish it off with a nice hearty, delicious stew. Okay, let's give this some seasonings. You want to make sure that you flavor every layer. All right, we're going to season with some salt. I'm just going to go right across the top. Black pepper. Some garlic powder right across the top. Onion powder. Smoked paprika. That'll help give it some color to the stew. I'm just going to take my tongs, mix this around to get the meat nice and coated. In my Dutch oven, I've got it on a medium-high heat. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. And we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of some cooking oil. We're going to bring this to a sizzle. We're going to be cooking our beef stew meat in batches. All right, we've got a nice sizzle going on in there. Let's go ahead and add our beef in a single layer. Now we're just looking to brown it on all sides, not cook it through. We want to give it some nice color, lock in some of the seasonings. There we go. And then we'll have this for the next batch. I'm going to let this sit for about 2 to 3 minutes on one side, and then we'll start flipping it over and browning it. Oh, look how good that looks. 2 to 3 more minutes. Remove the meat. We're going to set that aside. Add the rest of our stew meat. 2 to 3 minutes on one side, flip it over, brown it on the other side for another 2 minutes. We're going to get our onions ready while the beef is cooking. I got 2 yellow onions. I'm just going to chop off the ends, the outer layer, just peel that off. Just cutting these in half. Cutting them in half again. The bigger ones probably get 2 times. And then I'm just going to run them through one time. Big chunks, because these are going to cook a while. There we go. We got those ready. Y'all, the aroma coming out of this pot right now. Wow. That's what happens when you season well. We've got some delicious celery that I'm going to chop up. We're going to keep it really big, bite-sized pieces. Look at the flowers on this celery. Oh, that's in the middle of your celery stalk. We've got 4 carrots. I'm going to peel these and I'm going to chop these in big pieces. We're going to peel and chop up some potatoes. Now I have them in some water because they're going to go in last and I don't want them to get browned while we have everything else nice and chopped up. You also want to have ready some thyme and 2 garlic cloves, and we're going to mince those right now while the meat is finished cooking. All right, we're going to pull the rest of it out. Ooh, doesn't that look good? Okay, we're going to leave the pan on. We're going to add in our chopped onions. Now, if you need to add a little bit more oil to your pan, make sure you do that, which I'm going to do. I'm going to cook the onions down for about 5 minutes. All right, our onions are cooked down somewhat. We're going to start adding the garlic. We're going to cook this for 1 minute. We're going to add our meat back to the pot, juices and all. So that's stirred up, and then we're going to shake in a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. This is going to aid in the thickener of our stew. So we're going to mix this all together until the stew meat is all coated with the flour. Oh, already looks good, doesn't it? Here's our Guinness. If you know, you know. If you don't, now you know. We're going to add in 12 ounces of Guinness beer. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't want to add beer, you can add 12 ounces of extra beef broth. He gets the other 2 ounces in the can. All right, we're going to stir this up.
Oh, that's good.
We're going to add in 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. Let's see, does that look good right there? Give that a mix. Smelling good in there. Now, a tip or a trick to kind of get that beer flavor a little more mild is you can add 1 tablespoon of white granulated sugar, or you can even do brown sugar if you want to do that, and then just mix that in. We're going to add 4 cups of beef broth. We're going to keep an eye on our liquid level throughout the stew making process here. Oh yeah. We're going to bring this to a boil. And we're going to add our carrots, celery, and potatoes. All right, I've drained my potatoes. We're going to add those. All right, let's give that a stir and see what we got. Oh yeah, I think that's plenty of potatoes right there. So we can use these for something else. I'll just boil them up. Let's bring a spoon over, taste that broth, and see if you need to add anything extra. Looks so rich. Not bad. I think it needs a little salt. We did add a whole bunch of vegetables. Some black pepper. You want to season now and not when you're putting it in a bowl. That looks good. And I think it needs a little more tomato. I think 1 more tablespoon. 1 more? There we go. All right, we're gonna give that a try. Okay, we have a boil going on. We're gonna lower the heat to a medium low. Now I'm gonna place some thyme sprigs right on top. Just let that flavor kind of absorb into it, but I'm not going to like put it in there. We're gonna place a lid on. We're gonna cook it for 1 hour. I'm gonna remove the lid and we're gonna cook it for an additional 45 minutes to an hour until that beef is nice and tender and those vegetables are tender also. I'll be back. Let's take a look. It smells amazing in there. Look how stewish that looks. I'm gonna pull the sprigs of thyme out. This one took us about 1 hour and 40 minutes to get here. You know, it all depends on the cut of your beef and how big you have your vegetables in there, so just always keep an eye on it. I did add another 2 cups of beef broth towards the end because we wanted more of a broth in there. I'm going to add in some parsley. Ooh, where's my bite? I'm going to get the potato, the carrot. Today I'm going to show you how to make an Irish soda bread. This is perfect for your stews and your corned beef and cabbage recipes that you like to make for St. Patrick's Day. We're going to start in a large bowl and we're going to place 4 cups of all-purpose flour. Now we're going to put it in a sifter. That way we can sift all of our dry ingredients together. Dig deep into your flour. Just take the back edge of your knife, scrape it across, and then you get the perfect amount of flour. Now I did make stew for you, and it was really delicious, and we have lots of leftovers of it, and we're going to finish it off by serving up some soda bread with it. Okay, that's 3. I'm going to go in 1 more time. Okay, put the flour up. Let's bring over the white granulated sugar, 1 cup. I'm just going to put it right on top of the flour. We're going to put in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, just right on top. There we go. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And we're going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Get this out of the way. All right, let's sift it. Nothing like getting your hands into some flour. Gotta love soda bread. You don't have to knead this recipe and you do not have to let it rise. There we go. We're gonna set this aside and we're gonna bring another bowl over to get our wet ingredients together. Get that flour off of there. For the wet ingredients, we're going to crack 1 egg into our bowl. Now I'm going to go ahead and whisk this up. Give it a good start. I'm going to whisk in 1/3 cup of melted butter. Now make sure that you melt your butter and cool it down before you add it to your egg. That way you do not get scrambled eggs. Just going to kind of blend that together. Let's talk about the buttermilk. We're going to be adding in 1 1/3 cup. 1/4 1/2, right there. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, you can place 1 tablespoon and about 1/3 of a tablespoon of lemon juice in the bottom of your measuring cup, and then pour regular milk up to the 1/1/3 line. Whisk that together very lightly. Let it sit for a few minutes, and then you'll have buttermilk. We're going to add that to our egg butter mixture. So it's nice and creamy. We're going to bring back our sifted dry ingredients with a wooden spoon. I'm going to go in, I'm going to make a well inside of the flour mixture here. We're going to pour our wet ingredients into our well. Now, this is an optional step. You can put in 1 cup of currants or raisins. There we go. Looks good. About 1/2 cup to a cup, whatever you like. And another option of an add-in is caraway seed. We're going to put in 1 tablespoon. We're going to take a wooden spoon. What we're going to do is start pulling the flour into the wet mixture and then just start mixing it all together. We're making a dough. It sure smells good in there. Make sure you go down and get all that flour from the bottom. Now, what you can do when you get to this point here, just take your hand, go in, and just start kneading it just a little bit to get the rest of that flour up. You don't want to overwork the dough. We're just doing this step to make sure that we get all that flour incorporated. And you want a ball of dough. We're going to spray a 9-inch kind of a cake pan here, or you can use a cast iron skillet if you want, just grease it. You want that bread to come out. We're going to take our dough ball and we're going to put it in the center of our cake pan. Just keep it in its shape, just like that, like a bread. We're going to take a knife and we're going to make an X right across the top. You can see the X. I've got my oven preheated at 350 degrees. So we're going to bake this for about 1 hour until it gets nice and golden brown. You can take a toothpick, insert it, comes out nice and clean, no dough on it. Now, if it starts to over brown in your oven, you can tint your bread with some foil at the last 15 minutes or so, all right, to keep that nice golden brown color without it getting too dark, but you can finish cooking your bread. I'll be back. Look at how golden brown this Irish soda bread is. Y'all ready for a piece? Come on over. Let's give it a slice. Look at that. Okay, take some butter and smear it on the bread. Let's take a bite. It's got a nice crust on the outside. It's nice and soft on the inside. It's got some sweetness to it from the currants, or if you want to put raisins in it, you can do that. And I can taste those caraway seeds. Wow, that really pulls it all together. That's scrumptious. All right, y'all, give me a thumbs up, like this recipe. Make sure you pass this recipe on to your family and friends by sharing it on YouTube. I'll see y'all on the next episode.